right, here we are. It is Monday morning. Hey, good morning, Uncle Al. First in the stream. All right, thank you for being here. Thank you so much yesterday for sharing out the interview. How did you enjoy the interview? So yesterday I was on Garden State Gardener's channel and we got to interview Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, who is I would probably say pioneer in the plant-based world, and created or was in Forks Over Knives, which was a documentary about plant-based lifestyle, as well as director of the Cleveland Clinic. So pretty big deal. Joe from Garden State Gardener and I were both really, really excited to do the video, to do the interview. And it was super interesting. So great. I appreciate that. There were a couple of questions that I asked that kind of lit me up a little bit. So, but I was certainly being being very respectful, but I needed to get the questions answered. There's a lot of, there's criticism over the plant-based diet and certain elements about it. And so I think it's important that I was able to ask those questions. I did feel like he didn't want to answer the questions. In fact, at one point he didn't want to answer the question. He just flat out said he wouldn't answer it. So and the question was vitamin B12. So I think Joe had asked him if he recommends supplements, and he just said yes, B12. He was very brief in many of his answers. So he said yes, B12. And then I said, that one of the biggest criticisms about a plant-based diet is that people who eat this way, hey, Bill, you made it. You can't normally make it. It's nice to see you this morning. Is that people don't get enough B12, or they can't get B12 because they're not eating animal sources. The only way to get B12 is through animal sources. And so when he said, yes, take B12, and I said, well, as you know, this is one of the big criticisms that I said, if you're taking B12, the B12 supplement itself is going to come from animal sources. So you're okay with that? And he said, I'm not answering that. And I said, well, okay, but you just said that people should take a B12 supplement if they're plant-based because they need B12, but that's the only way they're going to get it. And hey, Urban Gardening Chronicles, nice to see you. And he just said, no, he wasn't going to answer the question. So I thought that was interesting that, he has a narrative. If you listen to his other videos, he says the same thing over and over. And so I was telling Joe, I said, he's going to go into those threads, that narrative. Like he's done it for so many years that he has it all memorized. And so that's exactly what he did. So he would go into those. And I don't know that he was prepared to answer the questions that I was asking. So, and really too, like Joe had asked him about his farm. He wasn't so much interested in talking about the farm. He did answer it, briefly. Hey, Mandy, nice to see you this morning. And Gray Man, how are you? Just breaking down the interview yesterday. So yeah, it seemed like he was very brief and didn't really want to go into a lot of his backstory. Told us the story of Lou Gehrig. That was really cool. How he met Lou Gehrig once when he was a little boy. His dad was the personal physician to Lou Gehrig, so that was pretty cool. And I'm curious to, please go watch it, and I would love to hear your feedback on that. So that's the thing. So I had said to Joe, I said, I think it's going to be hard to ask certain questions because he's going to do the thing that he's used to doing, is just going to say that. And I feel like there won't be a whole lot of dialogue, and there really wasn't. Good morning, Paula. It's P cubed now in the house. We have P cubed. We need P squared here. So it's so nice to see new faces on here. Appreciate everyone. I am now am I at 910 this morning? Let me pull this up and see where my viewership is. So thank you to Joe and everyone over on his channel. Yeah, I'm at 910. So I got pushed over the 900 mark. Finally, that seemed like, oh my God, it seemed like climbing up a muddy hill. I just kept sliding back and sliding back. Thank you, Mandy. Yes, please hit the thumbs up button. Appreciate all of you doing that and continuing to help this channel grow. So anyway, yeah. So I thought I'd do a quick recap on let's see where we at. Yeah, hit the thumbs up button for me, please. Just go here. Okay. And yeah, I thought we'd do a quick recap about yesterday's interview with Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. It's on my channel. It's on Grow Big TV, and it's also on Garden State Gardener. So it's on all three of those channels. So go watch it. And I appreciate the sharing out urban gardening. That's awesome. Yeah, if you could all take that and share that, we appreciate that very much. And just helping us get the message out. So anyway, so it was just interesting because you have this expert. And I feel like if you're an expert, you really need to be able to also then defend the things that people say, right? Like, how do you get your vitamin D? Vitamin D comes, mostly from the sun is where we need to get it. But then a lot of vitamin D comes from animal sources. The highest quality comes from animal sources. You can get some from plants, but most of it, most of our key critical nutrients come from animal products. So, and then the question I didn't get to ask, which I was kind of holding off on this anyway, was the issue of omega-3s. So, omega-3s, and he's said in multiple videos that you need to, flax, do flax meal, don't do flax oil. He's completely against olive oil. He said that the Mediterranean diet, he said, is a complete failure. And that's when I said, I got to disagree with you on that. I said, I'm heading down to visit my relatives for the holidays, and they are all in their, hey, Heidi, how are you, darling? It's so nice to see you. I interviewed Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn yesterday. So tell me you know who he is, because it's way more fun when you know. And so I said, I have to disagree with you on that. I mean, he was just like, the Mediterranean diet, it's just killing people slower than the standard American diet. And I said, I'm going down to visit my relatives, and they're all in their late 80s to late 90s, and they are still vibrant and full of vitality and living, full, rich lives. And I said, so we're Lebanese. We grew up on the Mediterranean diet. We don't eat a standard American diet. We eat a lot of olive oil and olives, and Italy. And he kept quoting the blue zones. And I go, well, yeah, but there's blue zones that eat the Mediterranean diet. There's one of the blue zones is in Greece and one is in Italy. And if you go read about them, then you see that, yeah, they're eating tons of olive oil. And he's like, stay away from the olive oil. He recommends a strict plant-based diet, urban gardening. So literally strict. Like he said, no nuts. Okay. So he's like, no nuts. And he goes, unless, and I think also to his point, he's saying, like, if somebody is facing a stent or bypass surgery, he suggested do this super strict, like vegetables only, and then anoint it with balsamic vinegar because the acetic acid, blah, 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 blah. Okay. But yeah, no oils, nothing. And yes, olives are plants. Nuts are plants. So he said no, but okay, so here you go. He says no nuts because there's too much saturated fat. Now, my thought is, how many nuts? If I eat a handful of nuts, it's literally like a small handful of nuts. Personally, I don't think you can overeat nuts. I feel like they're rich. You have to chew a lot. There's a lot of flavor in them. And I don't think that you can overeat a nut. and I said, but he said, there's too much saturated fat. And I said, but don't we need saturated fat for our brain and nervous system? And he said, there's plenty of saturated fat in green leafy vegetables and lettuces. And I was like I had to bite my tongue so hard. They probably had blood dripping out of my mouth because I legit just wanted to call bullshit on that. Now, there is 1/10 of a gram of saturated fat in lettuce. Okay. 1/10 of a gram in 1 cup of lettuce. You guys, your cells are all fats. Your nerves are lined with these fats. We need them. So, and then he was like, well, and once the cardiovascular disease is reversed, then maybe you can have a little bit of avocado. So no avocado, no nuts, nothing like that. Yeah. And so I'm like, you've got to be kidding. Yes, there's plenty of saturated fat in lettuce. So stick that in your hat and smoke it. And Urban Gardening says the amount of pesticides in produce nowadays. So that was also, I had a question about glyphosate, and I was trying to figure out how to fit certain things in. And I think so the B12, and then disagreeing with him, he wouldn't answer the B12 question, disagreeing with him on the Mediterranean diet. And then when I said we need saturated fats, I think at that point, because I saw he started to do this, he started to change his body positioning. I think at that point he was probably like, who is this bitch? Who does she think she's talking to? And I don't know, I'm just speaking out loud, but I agree with you, Urban Gardening. So I wanted to ask him about glyphosate, and what about the glyphosate? Because he doesn't believe that anybody should be taking supplements except B12. And I'm like, we have well-documented data that shows that that there's so much glyphosate in the ground, in our food, in our microbiome, in our guts. Like it is pervasive. It is hard to escape. And that's one of the reasons that when I had Dr. Jack Wolfson on, he suggested that we all eat organic, which is, that has its own challenges too, right? So Urban Gardening says, so unless you're growing your own, can't follow that advice 100%. Right. I mean, that's why I grow my own, right? It's probably why, say my name. In theory, food should provide all we need, but in reality, it does not. Why am I not? I always forget that I can do this. That is so true. Right. And I agree with you, because number one, again, the glyphosate is in the ground. It's not going anywhere. It kills everything. And so where do we get our nutrients? We have to get them from high quality, in my opinion, physician only lines of supplements that are tested and known to do what they're supposed to do. So, Mandy, you definitely need to go watch. So I'm sort of giving you the front end of the backstory. So curious to hear, what you say about that. And what was also interesting was that when I was asking these questions, he was very brief with me. I just don't think he wanted, I didn't feel like he wanted to talk to me. I don't feel like he wanted to answer my questions. So, but maybe because I was asking questions. I mean, again, if you're going to be the plant-based expert, you need to be able to answer the questions that people have with regards to how do you get your B12, how do you get your omegas. So he had said in other interviews, not this one, we didn't even get talking about omega-3s, which are essential fatty acids. And I wanted to talk to you guys about how to survive the holidays, but I'm gonna stay on this for a minute. So and that is 100. He was getting defensive. Yeah, at least that's what I felt. I'm gonna have to talk to Joe and break it down a little bit and see. So omega-3s, he has said, oh, you should do flax meal because it's an excellent source of omega-3s. I've talked about this on my channel before, is that when you are taking a plant-based omega-3, it is not omega-3. It's alpha linoleic acid. It's ALA, which needs multiple conversions before it can get to omega-3. The problem with those conversions is each conversion requires a cofactor: calcium, magnesium, zinc. Well, guess what we're all depleted in? We're all depleted in those minerals. He was also saying that you should be able to get all of your calcium from all of these vegetables. And I'm like, that's just not, again, the absorption rate, we know that the nutrient levels in a lot of our plants is lower because of all the glyphosate. Even in the organic sources, they're a little higher, but the soils have just been depleted. They're not as rich as they once were. So I put my elders on more fat, MCT oil. Yes, the brain needs fat. The brain needs the fat. So the omega-3s, if you look at the studies on flax, the studies on omega-3s, there's thousands of them from fish, and how well it assimilates into the body. It goes in and it does exactly it. Now your cells are like, if you had a little ball, your cells are all lined in omega-3 fats, essential fatty acids. And they're called essential for a reason, because we must get them from our diet. We can't get essential fat. Our bodies don't make essential fats. So we must get them from the diet. So flax has a very, very poor track record of getting to omega-3. And there's multiple studies that have been done on it, and they are all come up inconclusive because they can't prove that getting omega-3 from flax is a viable option to get your omega-3s. Now, that's not saying that you shouldn't put flax meal on your food. I'm like, if you're doing that, go ahead and keep doing it. It's totally fine. But you might need some cofactors in there. Maybe that's when you also take your multivitamin, so it helps you to make those conversions. But then another thing that he occasionally suggests that you take is algae, omegas from algae, which is that's fine. The studies on that, there's not a ton of studies on that, but it shows actually better than flax. But again, most of what he's doing is telling you to eat oatmeal in the morning and then throw flax meal on it. And he's not a real big fan of fasting, which sometimes we need the fast to get our bodies to clean themselves up. It's called autophagy. So when you go a long time in between meals, your body will actually move into different reserves and start to eat up. So autophagy is getting rid of all the old cells and kind of renewing yourself. So there's P cubed. All right. So we have Paula Mulford, and then we have Paula Wilson in the house. So we are P cubed. Yes, I know. So Paula messaged me, and she said after he made the comment about the Mediterranean diet, she was cooking in her kitchen, and she said she flipped around and looked at the screen and was like, what? So I thought that was funny. And this is not, somebody else mentioned, I think Bill had said, it was kind of dogmatic. I was like, it's very dogmatic. It's this blanket, I will never subscribe to one diet, because we are not a one size fits all human. We are so many different things and so many different people. And we have this thing called genetics, which is, it's what gives me my brown eyes and the color of my skin and gives me my background of health. But then we have what's called epigenetics, and epigenetics are what you do in your life that turns on your genes. So it turns on or off, right? So if you have a history of cancer, are you coming from a family that's been exposed to things like, poor quality foods, just a lot of processed foods? Is this a thing that's been going on in your family because of your dietary lifestyle? So you don't have to have a history. You don't have to succumb to the history, whether it's heart disease, cancer, or something else, autoimmune diseases. if you start to look at your family and say, what are my family's lifestyle habits and how can I do something differently so that I don't submit myself? So think of your genes like a switchboard. So you want to switch things on and switch things off. But what are you actually doing? Are you doing things that are going to switch on the bad genes? Are you doing things that are going to switch off the good genes, switch on the good? Like, so just think about it like a switchboard. So, like going into this week, I talked last week about really digging in and being, maybe you're fasting a little bit longer this week, you're drinking more water, you're being super clean about your food. I think yesterday I didn't really fast. I mean, I kind of fasted, but I had like a little Powerball energy ball that was like dates and almonds. And then I ate a bowl of my chicken soup that I made from the day before. So I'm attempting to put myself into a caloric deficit before Thanksgiving. And not that I'm planning on going off the rails completely, but I feel like it gives me that armor, right? I always say, like, build your armor of health. And how can you do that? So control what you can control. If you show up at the Thanksgiving dinner and there's a whole bunch of crap food and not a vegetable is on the table, which I normally have to bring the vegetables. But we're going to be at my aunt's house and she's pretty healthy. So I'm pretty happy about that. But if there's no vegetables there, then what do you do? Well, maybe you have a little bit of the turkey, stick with, some of the leaner things. But I've already admitted to you guys that just give me a pile of bread dressing. Legit. Like, that is, oh my gosh, I can't wait. So, yeah. And Paula says at 100% supporting my family's autoimmune disorder history. Stop. Okay. His wife did say at the end, I thought she was adorable. And she said, just get to it. Like, I'm going to start saying that now, right? Because all of this, the complaining about your health and oh, I don't feel good. And, I'm worried about myself, or I want to lose weight, or, whatever your health goals are, or maybe you got brain fog. Just get to it. Okay. And then to quote my dear friend, Dr. Erica Peabody, who you all should know from our Chiropractic is Sexy podcast, she says, now is not the time to do less. Okay. So now is not the time to do less. Just get to it. I'm going to put that on a freaking t-shirt. Oh my God. That is going to be swag for this channel. What do you guys think? Okay. I'm writing it down because I won't remember. Okay. So let's see what, let's see. Now is not the time. Would you all buy a t-shirt? Not buy. I'm going to give them away. We're going to do a giveaway. Yeah. Time to do less. Just get to it. I love that. We're going to go into the new year chanting that, right? Totally skipping probiotics and fermented foods by the heart doctor. Would you clarify that? Meaning he was recommending you skip probiotics? My brother's coming in now. So, oh no, it's not my brother. Oh, it's Carrie. Hi. I went a little over because patients were a little later. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up because I'm going to have people coming in now. But I wanted to leave you guys with that. Just a reminder. Okay, you still have a couple of days to prepare yourself for Thursday so that you don't go completely off the rails. He mentioned skipping probiotics and fermented foods. Which heart doctor? The one yesterday or the one from last week? I think, yeah, I know, Bentley. And Bentley knocked my laptop over during the live yesterday. So he always has to make an appearance. All right. So, clarify that, Uncle Al. Curious which doctor said that and in what capacity, because I'd love to address that. So, all right, so prepare yourself. Go back and watch the live interview from yesterday because it was really great. I'm proud of myself for standing up for what I know and I believe to be true and right. And again, we are not a one-size-fits-all human. So we have to allow for ourselves. And I was talking when I went into the genetic piece of it. Are you really going to tell somebody who's Samoan to be on a plant-based diet? Like that's, their genetics are going to thrive on animal products, right? That is how they live. There's nowhere to grow. So you just have to think about those kinds of things, right? People who live in colder, Scandinavian countries, and they have to rely on animal products for their nutrition. This is where you go, yeah, I mean, a plant-based diet might be helpful for somebody who has an opportunity to eat more vegetables, like that's how they were raised, maybe, right? But it's not for everybody, and nor is any one diet. So like I said, I'm not subscribing to any one thing. What I subscribe to is finding the one thing that's going to work best for you. And that's what I can help you do. So yes. All right, Uncle Al says happy Thanksgiving. Paula says happy Thanksgiving. You guys are amazing. Unfortunately, I don't think Dr. Erica and I are going to be able to get to a Chiropractic is Sexy Thanksgiving edition for you, but we promise we will make it up to you next week. So, but you never know. Maybe we'll hop on by surprise. So it's just been a matter of trying to bring our schedules together. I did talk about gratitude in yesterday's live. So if you want to learn a little bit more about gratitude and how it affects your life and your ability to move forward and kind of get out of your own way and stop doing less and just getting to it, start living a practice of gratitude on a daily basis so you can see all the blessings in your life. All right. As always, I am truly blessed and grateful for every single one of you who show up for me and who've helped me to grow this channel. So please share this out and tell others, bring your friends, and have an incredible Thanksgiving. All right. There's Bentley. He's saying it's time to go. Okay. All right, you guys. I love you. Talk to you soon. Bye.